Hello, this is Abby.
Dear Abby, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh boy.
Dear Abby, how do you tell the difference between a new exciting crush and a rebound?
Does it matter?
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Welcome to our little corner of the internet. This is the Dear Abby podcast. I hope you stay and hang out with us. See you in a sec. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Abby. I happen to wear the loudest pants in my closet today, so that means no moving for me. Welcome back, everybody, to my podcast. This is Dear Abby, and I'm very excited to be back with you guys today. I miss you every week. I get excited when it's recording day because I get to hang out with you guys and talk about my week. And it's really just therapeutic for me. I'm here today with good energy and medium energy. I hope everyone's having some fun on the 4th of July. And so if you don't listen to my podcast on the day that it comes out, that's okay, as long as you listen to it. But I hope everyone has fun. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. It's irresponsible and you're a piece of crap if you do. I'm very excited. I feel like I've been kind of in a fog lately, mentally. Like a lot of brain fog is my L for the week. Maybe it's because of my medication, but it's just my brain has felt, it's not calm in the sense of there will just always be a lot going on emotionally, physically, mentally. I'm just sensitive, so my experience is very intense. However, I do feel like the medication is making me a little like more stable emotionally, but it has kind of taken a lot of my emotions away where I can't really even cry anymore effectively, if that makes sense. If you're like me and you're emotional and you're sensitive or just emotional, you like to feel like the full depths of every emotion. I like to feel fully sad when I'm sad, and some people don't understand that and they can't get behind it, which is fine, I think. But when you're an emotional person and you let yourself tap into that, I feel like that's, for me, the most beautiful part about life is my emotions. So when I'm on medication and I feel like it's been taken away from me a little bit, it's kind of hard to adjust. I don't know if that's like a negative side effect or if this is just what it's like, I guess, to not be ill, but I don't love it, to be honest. I do kind of miss my emotions, obviously. And not that I don't have emotions still, but I feel like I can't process things emotionally as much anymore. I will be talking to my doctor about that. But now I haven't had depressive episodes. I mean, I've been pretty good, but I haven't had like snap of a finger, I'm depressed, everything's falling apart, emotionally overwhelmed since I've started taking my meds, really. So that's been kind of nice, but I'm just scared. Like, I don't know, I like want my emotions back, but I don't want it to be as bad as it was, type of a thing. This is just my opinion, and this is just how I feel. I'd much rather have really high and low lows than like nothing at all. But I don't know, maybe this is just an emotionless week, I guess, for me. And that's just like more normal now, I guess. It's just weird. Life is just confusing and hard, and sometimes you like don't really know exactly what to do. I eventually figure it out, or I eventually move forward with a decision. Sometimes I wish that like I didn't know that I had taken meds, because I wonder what's placebo and what's not, and if I didn't know that I was on medication, if I would notice my emotions as much or the lack of, you know what I mean? But that would obviously be very legal to not get consent and feed me medication without my consent. That would be bad, obviously, to have someone feed me medication without my consent. But sometimes, and this is not me consenting to this, by the way, it sometimes I'm like, I wonder if it would have a better effect, because I'm not obsessing over it. Anyways, I will do my best to continue to not obsess over it, and even though it's something that I want to always figure out, I'm not going to. Okay? I will lead by example on this podcast. That's enough of that. I think my dub for this week is I was able to really relax this weekend and not let myself feel guilty or not. Yeah, I just feel like I deserved to just totally relax. I do feel as though I'm not getting enough exercise to where I can feel good relaxing, and not like mentally or I give myself permission to or whatever. It's literally just that I don't think I'm exercising enough. I need to like be sweaty. I need to be out of breath like at least once a day to get good sleep for me. I can't really sleep that well if I don't move my body for like 45 minutes or lift weights and then do a hit. Like I feel the happiest and the best when I do high interval training because, or high intensity interval training, because I don't know, it releases those endorphins and I think it just helps me get into my body more than slow stuff. So I have noticed that. So I will be trying to do just honestly just burpees, like doing 100 burpees a day. That's a ton of exercise for me. What was I talking about? Burpees. Before that, what was I talking about? This happens to me way too often where I completely lose my train of thought. Really, brain. You can remember so many tiny details of something I don't want to remember, and you throw it in my face 500 times a day, and you're begging for me to look at that thought, and yet when I need you the most, you don't give me the thoughts that I want. We are not on the same page, buddy. Me and you, not on the same page. Anyways, yeah, I relaxed a lot this weekend. I watched a lot of Survivor. That's been one of my favorite shows ever since I was like a little kid, because my family used to all watch that together. I think I've watched almost every single season. I think there's just a couple seasons I haven't watched that are newer. It's like the best reality TV show ever. It's been going on for so long, and I hope it never dies because it's such an interesting, good, wholesome show, and I don't want it to change because I feel like this generation, no offense to us, but we ruin everything that's good on television. We make it so, like, there's so many stupid, I'm sorry, but there's so many dumb shows nowadays, that like reality TV shows especially. Not saying they're not all good. I love Love Island and some other ones that every once in a while Chelsea will show me. They're very entertaining. Survivor is goated, and I don't want it to be ruined. Like, millennials and Gen Z, don't touch Survivor, okay? Don't bring it into don't ruin it, okay? Please, nobody ruin it. Just let it stay. The one thing that ruins reality TV in this generation, in this day and age, is everyone's so concerned about getting canceled or being scared to like be themselves because they want to be perceived as intelligent. They want to be perceived as aware. They want to be perceived in a certain way because they see so many comments and they see what happens when you go on these shows. And then after you get followers and then you get all of these things and you get mean comments. And so your brain is smart. Your brain is very, very smart. It'll start to analyze saying, don't do this, say this, don't do this, act this way, don't do this. You know, it starts to calculate, how can I be a character that everybody loves and that isn't ever offensive. I want to be funny, but not too funny. So people, when they go on these reality TV shows that used to be really enjoyable, like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, they start to everyone kind of mold into kind of the same person because they don't want to be controversial in any way or say something that is like not kind of mainstream, I guess. Because when they do, they get absolutely demolished for it. It really sucks, and it ruins a lot of good shows because then everyone is a little bit fake and they're so scared to be themselves. But if you go back to the original seasons of Survivor and any long-lasting reality TV, it was like everyone was fully themselves, all good and all the bad. But it was a lot more endearing for some reason because I didn't feel like everyone's holding back or everyone's like trying to act a certain way. It is what it is, and that's the name of the game nowadays. But I don't have to like it though. So me and my boyfriend have been watching all the old Survivor seasons, and it's just been a breath of fresh air. It's like I don't feel, sometimes with these newer reality TV shows, I feel suffocated and I just like don't want to watch them. It's not any one person's fault. It's just the way that it is, and doesn't matter. It's still frustrating. And it makes for bad TV. I mean, it's great that as a society that we are a lot more self-aware, I guess, and we have a lot more knowledge to make a decision on how we want to act and who we want to be and stuff like that, and how to navigate certain situations. I think that's amazing, truly. But I do think there's like an extra layer that we put on ourselves, and that society puts on us to then, okay, well, if you know everything, now you have to be perfect. And now you have to appear perfect because you have everything available to you. So why aren't you? And then it just creates more of like we are robots. We lose touch with something. Something's out of touch. Okay, I went on a little bit of a rant. I'm reeling it back in and calm, cool, collected. And now we're going to talk about two different things, kind of. I wanted to talk about art and mental health. And this is not something that I'm not an expert in this. I'm not a professional. To remind everyone, I'm not any type of mental health professional. This is all just my personal experience, everything like that. I will continue to give that disclaimer. But I wanted to share my experience with art and mental health, and also just some things that I listened to a couple of TED Talks of people who are art therapists, and then also just people who express themselves through art. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about, and it's something that has saved me and helped me connect with myself again when I felt so far away from myself because of OCD. So I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about just having the mindset that life is hard instead of life should be easy. And we know life is hard. We've experienced hard things, and just how that shift has and still does help me when I remind myself that life isn't meant to be easy. And I don't believe life was meant to be easy. I think it's meant to be challenging, but not just hard doesn't mean bad. And hard doesn't mean never ending the miserable parts of life. I think hard is actually really good, and it makes you feel stronger, and it makes you feel more capable, and you can tolerate more. So I'm talking about that mental shift a little bit at the end. And then we'll do a Dear Abby, and we'll see you later because you have some 4th of July plans to get to. Let's talk about art, okay? And mental health. Dr. Huberman, who I'm sure everyone knows who he is by now, probably if you like listening to educational podcasts. I listen to Dr. Huberman, not every single episode, just ones that pique my interest. And he talks about bipolar depression, so obviously I listened to that one. And he has a couple stats that I don't actually really remember, but that's what kind of piqued my interest of just the topic of art and mental health, because he said some kind of percentage that people who have mental illness are more likely to become artists in some way. And then he, obviously says a disclaimer of that. I'm not saying that should be, you should make yourself mentally ill to become an artist, or you have to stay really sick to be a good artist or anything like that. And that's also not what I wanted to say. But I do think that there is, for me personally, there definitely was a correlation between when I was going through probably my hardest time with OCD, not leaving my room, crying every day, scared to look at the sky, that type of stuff. I started to get more drawn to art that I love. So I'm very sensitive to art in general, music, every type of art you can think of, film, everything. I'm very sensitive to things with that. And what that means is if I see a certain album cover, or if I see a certain trailer for a movie and there's certain sounds or there's certain images and there's a certain tone to it, if it's something that's intense or aggressive or super sexual or super one thing, I don't like to watch it. It makes me feel really uncomfortable. I feel squeamish, and I just want to go lay in the dark and have everything turn off, because it's just a lot. It just makes me feel very heavy. But when I find pieces of art that I like, I feel so relaxed and I feel so weirdly seen. And when I started to paint, and I would draw anime and I would paint anime, even though I wasn't doing it all from scratch. This was mostly I would side by side draw stuff, and I'm not even a good paintist. I'm not a good painter now, but I kind of got started when my anxiety and my OCD was at a really bad point, kind of at the beginning. I just feel like I naturally got drawn to painting and drawing and writing. That was just my healthy coping mechanism, and that was a way that I felt I could just express something, especially journaling. Having somewhere that I can write everything that I just wanted to say or wanted to write, and just have it be somewhere, because it was somewhere in here and I needed it to be externally processed. I could write it. I wasn't seeking reassurance from anyone. I wasn't trying to get anything. I don't know. I wasn't trying to make sense of it. I would just word vomit in my journal, and then I was done and I'd put it away. And then I felt so relieved by that. I got into painting, and it was mostly, again, it's just reference drawing. So I don't know if that's a thing, but I would look at something and I would just kind of try to copy it. And I took a couple classes that were just online, like $50 or something. And I learned the basics of drawing. It was just something to distract myself and to engage with what was in front of me. And I began to like really fall in love with it. And I feel uncomfortable saying I'm like an artist because I haven't really created anything that sold anything. I'm also not, I don't have a lot of time to fully do it right now. I wish I had more time. That's like the goal, to do something creatively. I did find it was one of the only times that my mind would actually just go silent. And I'm so grateful that that was my experience. I'm not kidding. One of the only times my brain would go silent, and I felt like myself. I felt safe. I guess I can cry. I actually don't even know why I'm crying, but I'm just happy I am, For me, art that I look at and I somehow know what that person is trying to portray, and I know what that person was trying to tap into when they drew something that I connect with. That makes me so happy, and it makes me feel more connected to that person, or just like in life, like I feel more connected to life. My observation has been most people like very specific art, and I'm talking all expressions of art. So pottery, like ceramics, stuff like that, to music, to film, to writing, to decorating a house. Like there's so many different forms of creative expression that we can have. And we all connect to some type of art. So in one of the TED Talks, this girl who had a lot of panic attacks, like very similar to probably a lot of our experiences with anxiety and panic and OCD and stuff, where you go through really yucky, dark times. And she found that art kind of saved her life. She came to the conclusion that art was just a way to connect with people and with herself, with life. Because we feel so lonely sometimes, and I know I feel so lonely sometimes. I feel hard. It's sometimes hard to connect with myself and also with other people, and I feel really lonely sometimes with my feelings. And so when I see people that have created art, I don't know, the expression of it just like hits something in me, and it tugs on a part of my soul, and it like livens it and it brings it to life again. That's what certain art does to me. And I feel so connected, and I feel that part of me is alive again and rejuvenated. And we never know what other people are feeling, nor how can they know what we're feeling. But when we express ourselves through art, through especially films, if you create a really beautiful film or a short film or something, and a lot of people relate to it, that's one of the best feelings when you connect to something like that, because you feel like you're connected to something bigger. I wasn't a little girl that grew up always painting or always doing really crafty stuff or doodling or anything like that. I didn't really grow up thinking that I liked art. I mean, art class was definitely my favorite extracurricular, or I forgot what they're called, but you'd go like 2 times a week or something in elementary school. It was like PE, art, and something else. Library. I loved the art room. The art room felt like I could finally relax and just like express myself and have fun and look at the pretty colors. But I didn't grow up painting, and I didn't grow up drawing, and I wasn't someone that was just sitting in class doodling. I really kind of found my passion for it and my love for it just in the past like 3 years. Those people that grew up knowing that they liked it and doing it, they're way ahead of me, and that's okay. Because for me, it genuinely feels like I have an eternity to get better at, and I'm just happy every time I'm doing it. I feel rejuvenated. Okay, actually that's a lie. Not every time I paint or I create something do I feel in love with what I'm doing. I normally actually don't love my pieces of art, but I'm proud of myself and I have fun doing it, and I find it relaxing, and it just is very soothing to me. I had a Dear Abby that I think was my cousin. She had asked about her about how to overcome or how to just deal with when your OCD starts to take over your creative outlets, or painting specifically, but yeah, any creative outlet or artistic hobby or something. I've just been thinking about that again a lot this week because I'm so grateful for art and just the ability that I have to express myself and to just create whatever the heck I want, and it doesn't have to make sense. And I don't have to explain it to anyone. It'll just find like-minded people who just get it. It just was something that was so important to me and still is important to me in my recovery, and it's a way that I connect to myself. So I think I want to bring awareness to that and how important art can be in therapy and in recovery and just in daily life forever, even if you're not even suffering with anything. A lot of us are artistic, and that part of you is very important to feed. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be okay. It doesn't have to be something you make money from. It doesn't have to be something that you even complete. It can just be something that you pick up that helps you reconnect with yourself, and that can even be journaling, because journaling is like storytelling, you know? It can be very poetic, and also it can also just be word vomit. Sometimes I just sometimes I just write random sentences in my journal that I just wanted to write, so I don't have to like keep it only in my head for some reason. Then I close it. I don't think it's compulsive because it doesn't necessarily relieve anxiety. It's just therapeutic for me. I'm a very loyal fan of art. Like if there's an artist that I like, or if there's a theme of art that I like, I love every painting. I love every piece. I love every movie. I love everything that they create. I personally just like paintings, and I love stories. And like Dungeons and Dragons for me is definitely an art form. You're literally telling stories and you're acting. You're telling stories. You're using your imagination for fun and to laugh. It's one of my favorite ways to, I don't know, just have fun and use my imagination for something positive and good and fun. I think it'd be fun to get a group together and do a virtual D&D. I noticed that when I painted, how I was feeling, it doesn't really make sense, but I sometimes just get into a flow state, and it doesn't have to make sense. And I think that's what feels so good about art to me, is you just express and you process emotions through painting or writing or whatever, and it doesn't really have to make sense for it to help process emotions and feelings. Yeah, unless you're writing a book. I mean, some things do need to make sense if it's for a purpose, but sometimes for just fun, it doesn't really have to make sense. That's it for the art that I wanted to talk about. Moving on to the next item of business is I have reminded myself lots of times this week that life is just hard, that hard isn't bad, but hard is hard. I get to a point sometimes where I expect things, because I've put so much work into a lot of different aspects. Like I expect it to all just click, and I expect everything to now just magically be okay, and I never feel uncertain again, and all of this really irrational wants that I have. But I recognize that when we tell ourselves life should be easy and why is life so hard, and we just ruminate on that life is hard instead of just accepting it, that type of thinking is very contradictory to feeling any type of relief or feeling empowered in your own life. Instead of like arguing with reality, because reality is that life is hard. It's a very pop thing to be like, you know, I just want to be delusional and stuff. And I think it's great to have aspirations. And this is just my perspective of what has actually what has actually helped me. So I could be totally different than other people, but for me, it's not helpful to be like, life is good, everything is perfect, I'm delusional, I get everything that I want, all that type of stuff. And I probably just misunderstand, but I also don't really read into that stuff that much. I think it's more helpful for me just with my OCD and the way my brain works, because you can't miss all the horrible things that are happening in the world and all the unfairness, and there's a lot of injustice and there's a lot of confusion that I don't have the answers to. I can't really help with. It's not helpful for me to be like, oh, I'm just lucky and everything's great and I get everything that I want, because I don't know, it's just not reality. I don't know. The reality is that life is hard, and it's hard to like be a good person, and it's hard to do the things that you should be doing every day, like working out and being super patient with the people you love and all of these things. That stuff is really hard to do, and it's not impossible to do it. I think it's definitely impossible to be perfect at that stuff. But for me, the way that I actually start to perform and become a better person and become stronger is by accepting fully that life is hard, and accepting fully that I'm not going to get everything that I want. That for me relieves a lot of pressure on myself. I don't know. I hope this isn't coming off negative, because hopefully I can articulate, I guess, my feelings around not getting everything that I want. For me, I trust that something is bigger than me. Like, I trust that God knows exactly how to fill my soul to the depths of my existence. And I know that He is smarter than me, that He can provide that for me. And I will keep working my butt off for the things that I think that I need to keep doing. And I trust that He knows where my heart is and everything like that, and that He will provide for me. So I think that's just where that confidence comes from, and why it is helpful for me to surrender that I won't get everything that I want, because I do trust that someone who created me would know how to, fill and satisfy my soul more than anything else, because nothing else created me. You know what I mean? That's the way that I think about it, in a logical way, I guess. And also just in reality, horrible things happen in this life, and horrible things have happened to a lot of people that I know. Pretty bad things have happened to me. And I think acknowledging that is kind of relieves this pressure of trying to figure everything out. And instead it's like, okay, well, if that's a reality, then what can I do to actually help this world? Instead of just being delusional or whatever. I don't want to be delusional. I want to be realistic, and I also want to be hopeful. And a way that I can be hopeful is by accurately seeing the world and then assessing what I can actually do to help myself and also help this world. Anyways, I don't know if any of that made sense. I just do think it's helpful to validate that it's hard. Also, when you just say life is hard and it's hard to do A, B, and C, and then you do it anyways, that is what real strength looks like to me, because obviously if it was easy, you would do it. And if it was the easiest thing to do, you would do it. So acknowledging that it is hard, and that we're kind of wired to not do a lot of the things that are helpful for us right now because of just the way that the world is, and we have phones and we have all of these things advertising multiple things to us, and we're getting food that is programmed to make us want to eat more, and then when we want to eat more, we shame ourselves. So that doesn't make sense. We can cut ourselves a lot more slack, because I don't actually feel like we're made to live the way that we're living. And sure, maybe over the next couple hundred thousands, tens of thousands of years, we'll turn into people who our backs are permanently hunched and our necks are elongated downwards because we're looking at our phones, and we don't have to work out at all and whatever. But for now, that's not how our bodies are. So, whatever. I've just found that the most joy that I feel, by joy, I mean the depth of my happiness and where that hits in my soul. I know this is dramatic sounding, is from when I just accept that life is hard and it's going to be really hard to do all of these things. And it doesn't feel natural to be forgiving, and it doesn't feel natural to be patient and be nice to people who are rude to me, or, any of that stuff. I also don't want to do exposures for OCD. I don't even know what recovery looks like. Sometimes I don't want to have hope. I don't feel like having hope. I don't feel like I'll ever feel myself again sometimes. But then that's when you just have to grit, you just got to grit through it. It takes a lot of grit, honestly, to get through life and to make it meaningful. But yeah, the most joy I've felt and the most depth of joy that I felt is when I just do the things that I don't feel like doing, that I know are good for other people, that I know are good for me. And it helps when I just admit to myself that life is hard. And I let myself really believe that and really feel it. I'm not a big fan of overcompensating life's struggles with insane positivity. That does a disservice to people who need to just hear that it's not fair. Anywho, enough about that stuff. Let's move on to a Dear Abby. I'm tired now. After these podcasts, sometimes if I go into something that I am really thinking about, I get so tired because I just want to like curl up in a dark room and just either cry or just eat and sleep. Okay, let's do a Dear Abby and then we'll wrap up. And you're driving me home and I don't want to leave. Okay, this Dear Abby is a text. It says, Dear Abby, I struggle daily with anxiety and embarrassment about my past. I was a party girl in high school and in my early 20s. I put that all behind me about 3 years ago. I'm now happily married with a baby and my life is amazing. Congratulations on the amazing life and the baby. However, I live in a smallish town and feel embarrassed every time I see someone from my past. I feel like everyone thinks I'm an obnoxious, crazy party girl, even though that's all behind me. I know it's crazy, but I can't stop thinking about it. I want a good reputation and to not feel embarrassed. I have some friends that stuck around from my past, but I now realize a lot of those friends I had were just party friends. I didn't have actual good connections. With the going out and drinking, I do feel like there was always some kind of drama going on, and thinking all of this stuff and thinking about all of this stuff haunts me. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. These are just 3. I also embarrass myself more times than I can count. Any advice? I feel like I've really changed my life around and I just want everyone to like me and to not see me as that girl anymore. Okay, I don't see any evidence in here that you sent that shows that people think about you that way. You didn't say people stop and stare and say, oh my gosh, there's like that girl that used to party and stuff. So from what I'm getting from just the way that you worded this I think a lot of it is just you need to either forgive yourself for your past and let yourself and just like forgive yourself for your past. And you were young, you were just having fun. You're doing what almost every other person that age is doing. You can't hold yourself and the person you are now to the same standard as you're holding your past self because you didn't know what you know now. There's nothing to be ashamed about by having fun and, learning what you want in life when you're young. There's so much exploration when you're young and trying to figure things out. It just sounds like there's a lot of maybe shame and embarrassment that you feel towards yourself that maybe is being projected onto other people. Because I know when sometimes I feel insecure or I feel like everyone thinks I'm boring, everyone thinks I'm annoying, everyone thinks I'm not fun. Like I have certain narratives that I play in my head, but no one's ever really said that to me straightforward before. That's just, I'm perceiving things like, oh, she didn't laugh. Oh, that person didn't, I don't know. I just start to analyze things a little bit too much. Yeah, most of the things that you have said, it sounded like just in your text. You need to really let go of this pressure that you're putting on your past self. Just because you probably want to do a lot of the things now that you used to do doesn't mean that it's okay to now shame her and make her feel bad. And I'm talking by her, I mean your past self. Those things are all very natural things to do. She was just having fun trying to figure out who she is. And even if there's a part of you that misses it, that's okay too. It doesn't mean you're going to become that person again. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that you actually really do miss it and you want to be that person again or whatever. Sometimes we just think about our past and we think, oh yeah, that was fun. But we also, when we think about our past, it's usually better than we remember it. So when you think about a past situation or whatever, it somehow is better in our head sometimes. Sometimes it's worse, but there's also no need to feel shame for that. It doesn't matter. If someone's been married for 25 years and they're very happy and they have a bunch of kids, sometimes they might think, oh yeah, it would be kind of nice if I was single and could just do whatever I wanted. Very natural way to think. Doesn't mean you have to act on it. Doesn't mean that it's that important. It's just, it is what it is. Also, in case people were actually being rude about it or they bring it up or in conversation or they do look at you certain ways, like very obviously giving you bad looks or something, you can use that maybe as a way to almost, I turn everything into an exposure. But the only reason I'm okay, what I was going to say is you can turn that into if you see someone looking at you a certain way, you see someone from your past, if this is something you're struggling with, is a certain feeling of shame or a certain feeling comes up that is uncomfortable and you don't want to sit with it, the best thing to do is normally to have it come up and sit with it and not judge it and not be mean to it and also not push it away, and not really attach to it, but just be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now. I can handle this. Maybe they don't think you've changed. Maybe they still look at you and are embarrassed by some of the things that you did. Maybe they get secondhand embarrassment from you. And so what? What is, it's okay to be misunderstood. It's okay to have people think that you're one way when you're actually another. Yeah, I definitely feel the more that shame and embarrassment is released within yourself and your own perception of who you were and who you are, then the less you'll care about other people because you'll feel more secure and like sure about how you see yourself, and that will be enough for you. But that's not to say that when people do think of you badly, it doesn't feel good, definitely. But I do want to empower you that it's not something that has to control your life, and it's not something that has to control every thought of yours. So I think an actionable thing to do is, yeah, just when that feeling comes up or when someone looks at you a certain way, you see someone, let that feeling be there, let the embarrassment come back all over again, and whatever images or memories come to your mind, just like be like, maybe they see me as that still, and that's fine, you know? Hopefully that was helpful, and some decent advice. That's just what I would do. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope you guys have a great holiday weekend and be safe out there. Have some fun. Pour yourself a drink or a mocktail if you do not drink alcohol. It's summer, baby. Have fun. Have fun, baby. Okay, love you. Bye.
우회전 taking a ride to join a lake 눈치 보면서